I, 32M, never thought I'd be sharing this story on Reddit, but here I am. It's a long one, so buckle up. 5 years ago, I met Alicia, 30F, at a company picnic. It was one of those perfect summer days, you know the kind, where the sky is impossibly blue and there's just enough of a breeze to keep you comfortable. I was manning the grill, flipping burgers and trying not to burn myself when she walked up. Alicia worked in marketing, and I was in IT. We'd seen each other around the office but never really talked. She came over to grab a burger, and we got to chatting. Turns out we both loved indie music and hiking. We spent the rest of the picnic talking about our favorite bands and trails. After that day, we started hanging out more at work. Lunch breaks turned into after-work drinks, which turned into weekend hikes. I found myself falling for her hard and fast. Alicia was smart, funny, and ambitious. She had this way of lighting up a room when she walked in, and I felt lucky just to be in her orbit. Within a year, we were married. It was a small ceremony, just close friends and family. We honeymooned in Costa Rica, spending our days exploring rainforests and our nights stargazing on the beach. I remember thinking life couldn't get any better. We both had good jobs, and we lived in a nice apartment in the city. It wasn't anything fancy, but it was ours. We filled it with secondhand furniture and art we picked up at local fairs. Every piece had a story, and we loved that. We weren't rich by any means, but we were comfortable and happy. Or so I thought. Alicia had always been ambitious. Even when we first met, she talked about wanting to climb the corporate ladder. I admired her drive. It was one of the things that attracted me to her. She worked long hours, often bringing work home with her. I tried to be supportive, picking up more of the household chores and making sure she ate properly when she was deep in a project. About 2 years into our marriage, Alicia got a new boss at work. Mark, 45mm, had just transferred from the company's New York office. Alicia was excited about the change. She saw it as an opportunity to prove herself and maybe get that promotion she'd been eyeing. At first, everything seemed normal. Alicia would come home late, talking excitedly about the projects she and Mark were working on. I was happy for her, even if I missed spending time together. But something felt off. I couldn't put my finger on it, but there was a nagging feeling in the pit of my stomach. Alicia started spending more and more time at work. She'd come home later and later, often smelling of wine. When I asked about it, she'd brush it off, saying they'd had a team dinner or a client meeting ran late. I wanted to believe her. I really did. Then came the texting. Alicia was always on her phone, smiling at the screen. When I'd ask who she was talking to, she'd just say, work stuff, and change the subject. I tried to ignore it, to push down the growing unease. Alicia had always been honest with me, and I trusted her completely, or at least I wanted to. One night, about 6 months after Mark became Alicia's boss, she canceled our dinner plans for the third time that week. We'd been planning to try this new Thai place that had opened up near our apartment. I'd been looking forward to it all week. It felt like ages since we'd had a proper date night. When Alicia called to cancel, saying she had to work late again, something in me snapped. I decided to surprise her at the office with takeout. I figured if she couldn't come to dinner, I'd bring dinner to her. I picked up food from our favorite Chinese place. Kung Pao chicken for me, vegetable lo mein for her. I even got those fortune cookies she loves, the ones with the jokes inside. I drove to her office, my heart light for the first time in weeks. I was going to see my wife, spend some time with her, even if it was just eating takeout in her office. But when I got there, the receptionist gave me a strange look. "I'm sorry," she said, "but Alicia left about an hour ago, with Mark." My heart sank. I called Alicia's cell, but it went straight to voicemail. I drove home in a daze, the smell of Chinese food filling the car and making me feel sick. When I got home, Alicia's car wasn't in the driveway. I went inside and waited, the unopened takeout containers sitting on the kitchen counter. Hours passed. I tried calling her again and again, but still no answer. She finally came home around midnight. Her hair was messed up and her lipstick was smudged. When I asked where she'd been, she stammered something about a last-minute client meeting. I could smell alcohol on her breath, and something else. Cologne. Not mine. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to Alicia's steady breathing next to me. How could she sleep so peacefully while my world was falling apart? The next morning, while Alicia was in the shower, I did something I never thought I'd do. I checked her phone. My hands were shaking as I entered her passcode, our wedding date. The irony wasn't lost on me. What I found shattered my world. There were hundreds of messages between her and Mark, flirty texts, explicit photos, plans for secret meetups. They'd been having an affair for months. I felt like I was going to be sick. I scrolled through the messages, each one a knife in my heart. There were inside jokes I didn't understand, pet names that made me cringe. But what hurt the most were the messages where they talked about me. Alicia complained about how boring I was, how I couldn't give her the life she wanted. Mark promised her everything: promotions, luxury vacations, a life of excitement. I was still sitting there, Alicia's phone in my hand, when she came out of the shower. She took one look at me and knew. The color drained from her face. "How could you?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Alicia broke down, sobbing and trying to explain. She said she'd fallen in love with Mark, that he could give her the life she'd always dreamed of. He was wealthy, well-connected, and promised to fast-track her career. "What about our life?" I asked. "What about our plans, our dreams?" She just shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry," she said. "I never meant for this to happen." But it had happened, and there was no going back. I told her to pack her things and leave. She cried, begged for forgiveness, said we could work it out. But I couldn't even look at her. The woman I thought I knew, the life we'd built together, it had all been a lie. Alicia left that night, going to stay with a friend. I sat in our empty apartment, surrounded by the life we'd built together, and felt utterly alone. The next few weeks were a blur of lawyers, paperwork, and sleepless nights. Alicia moved in with Mark, and I was left to pick up the pieces of my shattered life. I had to tell our families, our friends. I had to explain over and over again why the woman they'd seen me so happy with just months ago was now gone. Friends rallied around me, but I felt hollow inside. I threw myself into work, staying late at the office because I couldn't bear to go home to an empty apartment. I started going to the gym, pushing myself until I was too exhausted to think. Months passed, and slowly I started to heal. I reconnected with old friends I'd lost touch with during my marriage. I took up new hobbies, learning to cook, taking a photography class, anything to keep my mind occupied. Now, a year later, I'm finally ready to share my story. I've learned a lot about myself through this ordeal. I'm stronger than I ever knew, and I refuse to let Alicia's betrayal define me. I'm focusing on my career, reconnecting with old friends, and even started dating again recently. It's not easy, but I'm taking it one day at a time. As for Alicia and Mark, last I heard, they were still together. Part of me hopes karma catches up with them, but mostly, I just want to move on with my life. If you're going through something similar, know that it does get better. Trust your gut, value yourself, and remember that you deserve someone who loves and respects you completely. Edit. Wow, I didn't expect this post to blow up like it did. Thank you all for your kind words and support. I'll try to answer some questions and provide updates as things develop. Update 1. It's been about 3 months since my original post, and a lot has happened. I want to thank everyone for their supportive comments and messages. They've really helped me through some tough times. I've been seeing a therapist too, work through my trust issues and lingering anger. It's been challenging, but I'm making progress. I've also joined a support group for people who've been through similar situations, which has been incredibly helpful. It's comforting to know I'm not alone in this experience. Now, on to the juicy stuff. Remember how I mentioned hoping karma would catch up with Alicia and Mark? Well, it seems the universe was listening. About a month ago, I ran into a former co-worker, Tom, 35M, at a coffee shop. I was grabbing my usual morning latte when I heard someone call my name. Tom and I had worked on a few projects together before I left the company, and we'd always gotten along well. We got to talking, catching up on life and work. Then, almost hesitantly, Tom asked if I'd heard about what was happening at our old company. When I said no, he filled me in on some office gossip that made my head spin. Apparently, Alicia and Mark's relationship had been causing quite a stir at work. Their affair wasn't as secret as they thought. People had been whispering about it for months, and it was affecting team morale. HR had gotten involved, and both Alicia and Mark were put on notice. But here's where it gets really interesting. Tom told me that there were rumors circulating about Mark embezzling company funds. The higher-ups were starting to notice discrepancies in the books, and an internal audit was underway. I was shocked. Part of me felt a twisted sense of satisfaction, but mostly, I just felt sad for Alicia. She'd thrown away our marriage for this guy, and now it was all unraveling. Tom and I talked for a while longer. He told me more about the atmosphere at the office, how tense things had become, how people were taking sides. It sounded like a mess, and I was glad I wasn't in the middle of it anymore. After we parted ways, I couldn't stop thinking about what Tom had told me. I wondered if Alicia knew about the embezzlement allegations. Was she involved? Or was she just as much in the dark as everyone else? A week after my chat with Tom, I got a text from Alicia. It was the first time we'd communicated since the divorce. My heart raced when I saw her name pop up on my screen. She asked if we could meet up to talk. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We decided to meet at a park near our old apartment. It was a place we used to go often, feeding the ducks and planning our future together. Now, it felt like a lifetime ago. I got there early and sat on a bench, watching families play and couples stroll hand in hand. I felt a pang of nostalgia for the life I thought I'd have. When Alicia arrived, I almost didn't recognize her. She looked terrible. Dark circles under her eyes, hair a mess. She'd lost weight, and not in a healthy way. She looked broken. As soon as she sat down, she broke down crying. Between sobs, she confessed that she'd made a huge mistake. Mark, it turned out, wasn't the Prince Charming he'd portrayed himself to be. He was controlling, manipulative, and had a nasty temper. The promised career advancements never materialized. Instead, Alicia found herself stuck in a toxic relationship with a man who was about to lose everything. She told me about the embezzlement investigation, confirming what Tom had said. Mark was in serious trouble, and Alicia was terrified she'd be implicated. She swore she knew nothing about it, that she'd never have participated in anything illegal. As I listened to her, I felt a mix of emotions. Part of me was angry. Why should I care about her problems after what she'd done to me? But another part of me still cared for her. We'd been through so much together, and seeing her in pain wasn't easy. Alicia begged for my forgiveness, saying she wanted to try again. She talked about how much she missed our life together, how she'd taken me for granted. Part of me was tempted. I'd loved this woman for years after all. But I knew I couldn't go back. Too much had happened. Too much trust had been broken. I told Alicia I forgave her, not for her sake, but for my own peace of mind. But I made it clear that we could never be together again. She cried, but seemed to understand. As I walked away from that meeting, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I realized I was finally, truly, over Alicia and the life we'd had together. It wasn't easy, and it wasn't pretty, but it was necessary. I don't know what the future holds for Alicia or Mark, but I'm excited about my own future for the first time in a long while. I've started seeing someone new, Lisa, 29F, and while it's early days, things are going well. Lisa knows about my past and she's been incredibly understanding. We're taking things slow, but I feel hopeful in a way I haven't in a long time. Life has a funny way of working out sometimes. I never would have chosen this path, but I'm stronger and wiser for having walked it. And who knows? Maybe this winding road will lead me somewhere even better than I could have imagined. Update 2. It's been another 2 months since my last update, and the saga continues. I'll try to keep this brief, but a lot has happened. First, the fallout at Alicia and Mark's company was even worse than anticipated. The internal audit uncovered extensive fraud, and Mark was arrested. It turns out he'd been embezzling millions over several years, using elaborate schemes to hide the money trails. The news was all over local media, and the company's reputation took a massive hit. I found out about Mark's arrest from Lisa, who saw it on the local news. We were having dinner at her place when the story broke. Seeing Mark's face on the TV screen, being led away in handcuffs, was surreal. Lisa held my hand as we watched, offering silent support. Alicia wasn't implicated in the fraud, but her association with Mark made her position at the company untenable. She was let go, along with several other employees who were close to Mark. The company was in damage control mode, trying to distance itself from the scandal as much as possible. About a week after the news broke, I got another call from Alicia. It was late, around 11 p.m., and I almost didn't answer, but something told me I should. Alicia was a mess, completely broken down. She'd lost her job, her reputation was in tatters, and she was facing potential legal troubles due to her proximity to Mark's crimes. She begged me for help, saying I was the only person she could turn to. I was torn. On one hand, I still cared about Alicia as a person and didn't want to see her suffer. We'd shared a life together, and despite everything, I couldn't just turn my back on her when she was in trouble. On the other hand, I knew getting involved would be a huge mistake. I'd worked hard to move on with my life, and I didn't want to risk getting pulled back into Alicia's drama. I talked it over with my therapist and Lisa. My therapist advised caution, reminding me of the boundaries I'd worked hard to establish. Lisa, to her credit, was incredibly understanding. She told me she trusted me to make the right decision, whatever that might be. In the end, I decided to offer limited help. I gave Alicia the contact information for a good lawyer, a friend of a friend who specialized in white-collar crime cases. I also sent her some job search resources and the number of a therapist I knew who dealt with relationship trauma. But I made it clear that was the extent of my involvement. I couldn't be her support system anymore. Alicia was grateful for the help, even if it wasn't as much as she'd hoped for. Before we hung up, she thanked me for being kind to her despite everything. It was a bittersweet moment, a reminder of the connection we once shared, but also of how much things had changed. After that call, I felt a strange mix of emotions. Part of me felt guilty for not doing more, but another part felt proud for maintaining my boundaries. It was a small step, but an important one in my journey of moving on. Meanwhile, things with Lisa have been going really well. She's kind, funny, and most importantly, honest. We've had some deep conversations about my past, and she's been incredibly understanding and supportive. For the first time in a long time, I'm excited about the future. Lisa works as a pediatric nurse, and her stories about the kids she helps always brighten my day. We've started volunteering together at a local animal shelter on weekends. It's been great to focus on giving back and making new, positive memories together. Work has been going well, too. I got a promotion last month, which came with a nice raise. I'm using some of the extra money to take a photography class, something I've always wanted to do but never had time for when I was with Alicia. It's been therapeutic, learning to see the world through a new lens, pun intended. I've also been reconnecting with old hobbies. I've started playing guitar again, something I'd given up years ago. Lisa's been supportive, even when I'm just making noise. She says she loves seeing me passionate about something. As for Alicia, last I heard, she'd moved back in with her parents and was trying to piece her life back together. A mutual friend told me she's been going to therapy and looking for a fresh start. Part of me feels sorry for her, but I know she made her own choices. I hope she learns from this experience and finds happiness someday, but that's no longer my concern. I'm focusing on my own happiness now, and it feels pretty damn good. Life isn't perfect, but it's getting better every day. And for the first time in a long time, I'm optimistic about what the future holds. Update 3. It's been about 6 months since my last update, and I think this will be my final one. Life has a way of coming full circle, and I feel like this chapter of my life is finally closing. First, the big news. Lisa and I are engaged. I proposed last month during a weekend hiking trip. We'd been planning this trip for weeks, a challenging trail that led to a beautiful overlook. The hike was tough, but the view at the top was breathtaking. As we stood there, catching our breath and taking in the panorama, I knew it was the perfect moment. I turned to Lisa, got down on one knee, and asked her to marry me. I had the ring in my backpack the whole time, nervous I'd drop it off a cliff or something. Lisa's face lit up, and for a moment, I thought she was going to cry. Then she started laughing and said, "It's about time," before pulling me up into a kiss. It wasn't anything fancy, just the two of us at the top of a mountain, sweaty and tired from the hike. But it was perfect. Lisa makes me happier than I ever thought possible, and I can't wait to start our life together. We've started planning the wedding, aiming for next spring. It's going to be a small ceremony, just close friends and family. We're thinking of having it outdoors, maybe in the same park where we volunteer. It feels right to start our new life in a place that means so much to us. As for Alicia, I heard through the grapevine that she's slowly getting back on her feet. She found a job at a small marketing firm in another city and is starting over. It's entry level, a big step down from her previous position, but it's a fresh start. I wish her well, but I'm glad she's out of my life for good. Mark's trial concluded last month. He was found guilty on multiple counts of fraud and embezzlement. He's looking at a significant prison sentence. The judge really threw the book at him. It's a stark reminder that actions have consequences. On a personal note, I've been doing a lot of reflection lately. The pain of Alicia's betrayal will always be a part of my story, but it no longer defines me. If anything, it's made me stronger, more self-aware, and more appreciative of genuine love and trust. Lisa and I have talked a lot about what happened with Alicia and how it shaped me. She's been incredibly patient and understanding. We're committed to open communication and honesty in our relationship. I know now that these are the foundations of a truly strong partnership. My photography hobby has turned into a real passion. I've even sold a few prints at a local art fair. It's not much, but it feels good to be creating something beautiful after so much ugliness. Lisa's been my biggest cheerleader, always encouraging me to pursue my dreams. We've started talking about the future, where we want to live, our career goals, even the possibility of kids someday. It's exciting and a little scary, but mostly it just feels right. We're building something real together, based on mutual respect and trust. Last week, I was going through some old boxes and found my wedding album with Alicia. Looking at those photos, I felt a twinge of sadness, but not for the reasons I expected. I was sad for the naive young man in those pictures, who thought he had it all figured out. But mostly, I felt grateful. Grateful for the lessons I've learned, the strength I've found, and the love I've discovered with Lisa. To anyone who's going through something similar to what I experienced, I want to say this: it gets better. The pain doesn't disappear overnight, but it does fade. Focus on yourself, surround yourself with good people, and don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. Life is too short to waste on people who don't value you. Sometimes, losing someone who doesn't appreciate you is the best thing that can happen. It opens the door for someone who will. As I write this final update, I'm sitting on the balcony of our new apartment. Lisa's inside, singing off-key to some pop song on the radio as she unpacks boxes. The sun is setting, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. It's not the life I imagined for myself a few years ago, but it's better than anything I could have dreamed up. Thank you all for following my journey and for your support along the way. Here's to new beginnings and happier endings. Edit. Wow. The response to this final update has been overwhelming. Thank you all for your kind words and well wishes. To those who've asked, yes, Lisa knows I post here, and she's read the updates. She says to tell you all thank you for being part of our story. To those still in the thick of heartbreak and betrayal, hang in there. It won't be easy, but you'll come out stronger on the other side. And who knows? Your happy ending might be just around the corner.